Hello, this is my video project for APUSH. This is about the Homestead Act in the United States. The Homestead Act was a law signed by Abraham Lincoln in 1862. It gave people 160 acres of land to those who registered. To register, you had to be over 21, pay a registration fee and $1.25 per acre, and swear that you would never attack the U.S. or ally with an enemy of the U.S. You also had to live on it for 5 years and improve it within 7. Improving means build a farm, build a house, and things like that. It encouraged people to expand westward. People built towns and schools and created new states from the territories. In many cases, the schools became the focal point for the community life. The Homestead Act was advertised to everyone. Even African Americans were encouraged to claim land. However, the journey was expensive and it took a lot of work and money to set up a good farm. Only those who could afford the journey left. And even then, sometimes they didn't even move that far from their home. So like Iowans moved to Nebraska, Minnesotans moved to South Dakota, and so on. Many people moved for different reasons. Either their farm back home failed, or they just wanted religious freedom. Generally speaking, the North liked the Homestead Act, and the South really didn't. The South didn't like the Homestead Act because they thought it threatened slavery. Homestead laws were proposed a few times before the Civil War, but the Southern states always voted against it. But once the South seceded, Abraham Lincoln was able to pass it without anyone opposing it. In the North, Free Soil Party members wanted individual farmers to own and operate their own farms, as opposed to Southern slave owners who wanted to buy large tracts of land and use slave labor, thereby shutting out free white farmers. Employers also hated the idea of the Homestead Act because it depleted the labor market, making wages higher, so they have to pay their workers more rather than taking advantage of them. Even though the homestead land was for farmers, sometimes people used it for something else. In these areas, some people manipulated the provisions of the act to gain control of resources, especially water. A common scheme was for an individual acting as a front for a large cattle operation to file for a homesteading surrounding a water source under the pretense that the land was to be used as a farm. The goal of the Homestead Act was to increase expansion west of the Mississippi River. People have already been moving west before the Civil War, but this event itself sparked a huge amount of people to move. Over 1.6 million homestead applications were processed, and nearly 10% of U.S. land was claimed during the Homestead Act. Because of that, the U.S. was able to grow thriving economies in the West that could trade with the East. Due to the extremely long distance from the West to the East, the railroad industry grew. It reached all the way from the coast of California, which provided people with a fast and efficient form of transportation. Factories on the East Coast were able to transport products quickly over to the West, and the West was able to send goods over to the East. Because of the new high demand for products, new technology was invented in order to support this demand.